What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Steven Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. What's going on, guys? Look, if you are someone who's been tuning into my channel recently, but you're not subscribed, if I could just ask a little favor, guys, hit that subscription button. And if you'd like to further support the channel, just go ahead and hit that like button, guys. That's the way that we're able to communicate with YouTube. So then YouTube can start to suggest this content and material to other people on the platform so we can grow the channel, guys. It's the easiest way of doing it. All right. So today's topic.
Hungry dogs run fast, and that's the
Today's topic, I want to talk a little bit about this young receiving core that Carson Wentz is about to lead on Sunday, and one player really in particular, Robert Davis. I really did some deep diving on Robert Davis, and I got to tell you, he's a really interesting guy. We might have something. I don't know. I don't want to go too overboard because the guy really hasn't put it together in a meaningful game yet. But I tell you what, man, this kid has the physical tools that really make him an intriguing prospect. So today's topic, we're going to talk about Robert Davis and this young receiving core of the Philadelphia Eagles.
chin on your shoulder. Try to stay in bounds.
Okay, guys, let's talk about the athleticism of Robert Davis. And if I were to give you a recent wide receiver who was a freak during the combine workout, I know what player comes to my mind. And I'm pretty sure we're both coming up with the same guy. The guy who's similar in stature to Robert Davis and who was just an absolute freak at the combine workouts was DK Metcalf. So I'm going to use DK Metcalf as kind of a measuring stick. You can also take a guy like, Robbie Anderson, who's also a really quick, tall guy as well. You could use a guy like Devontae Parker. I think all those guys kind of fit and work there. But I'm just going to use DK Metcalf because his numbers are right in front of me. So it makes it easy on me. And I think it fits. So, measurements. Robert Davis, 6'3", 219 pounds, 33-inch arms, and a 9 and 5/8 inch hand. DK Metcalf, 6'3", 228 pounds, 34 and 7/8 inch arms, and a 9 and 7/8 inch hand. DK Metcalf is a little more lankier in the arms. He's got slightly bigger hands, but these are very similar stature. I mean, DK Metcalf's a little more well built. He's got about 9-10 pounds on his combine measurements, but these are similar guys. And I'm going to get into some of the numbers here in a second. So why don't we start off with the easiest measurement we look at for wide receivers when we're trying to judge their ability to stretch vertically. The first number everyone looks at, whether it's a good number to use to measure this or not, is your 40 time. Robert Davis ran a 4.44 40-yard dash.
You always want the small school kids to dominate at their level, and he broke all the.
And DK Metcalf ran a 4.33 40-yard dash. Other drills that NFL teams will use to measure speed would be something like your three-cone. So your three-cone drill, your 20-yard shuttle, your 60-yard shuttle. Those are all other drills instead of just a 40-yard dash that are used to actually measure a player's overall speed. So three-cone drill. Three-cone drill is just a way of basically measuring how fluid and agile a player is. So how they can kind of get in and out of their breaks. A pretty good measurement for things like that. You get the 20-yard shuttle, which is more about kind of lateral movement and change of direction speed. And then you get something like this 60-yard shuttle, which the 60-yard shuttle is similar to you guys who play basketball like myself, where you do suicides, similar to suicides or running lines. Basically, it's that concept of you run 5 yards, you come back, you run 10 yards, you come back, you run 15 yards, you come back. Basically, what it's doing is it's measuring your anaerobic endurance, right? It's easy just to run one straight speed as fast as you can run for 40 yards, and that's it. But when you got to keep going, coming back, that's going to mess with how well conditioned you are. So kind of what your, respiratory response is under duress, essentially, if that makes sense. So one thing I'll show you guys, I'll go over the numbers. So just real quick on the numbers here. The three-cone drill. Robert Davis actually ran a 6.82 second three-cone to DK Metcalf's 7.38 second three cone. So Robert Davis was a little faster there. On the 20-yard shuttle, Robert Davis ran a 4.28 second 20-yard shuttle compared to DK Metcalf's 4.5 second 20-yard shuttle. So once again, Robert Davis was a little faster there. Now, DK Metcalf, as far as I know, did not actually run the 60-yard shuttle, but Robert Davis did run the 60-yard shuttle, and that was an 11.48 second 60-yard shuttle. What do these basically 4 drills tell us about Robert Davis compared to DK Metcalf? Well, it tells us that DK Metcalf has special level talent for a 6'3", 228-pound wide receiver who can run a 4.33 40. He's very fast straight ahead. He is not so great at change of direction, agility drills, things like that, getting in and out of breaks. Although, I'll be honest with you, the games I've seen from Seattle, he hasn't really struggled with it. But I'm telling you right now that, the rumor was on the 3-cone drill, which is a really good marker and measurement of like how fluid and agile a player is, and like, measuring those in and outs of the breaks. The dude timed around Tom Brady's time. DK Metcalf did. So he sometimes these drills may not tell you as much as you might think sometimes. Now, what I can tell you is that Robert Davis certainly is probably a little more athletic overall. He is faster when it comes to in and out of breaks. He's more agile. He's more fluid in his movements than DK Metcalf is. But DK Metcalf has that top end speed that surpasses Robert Davis's ability. Now, other measurements that would tell you about explosive football players, like explosion, right? I'm going to give you 2 more. We'll do the vertical jump, we'll do broad jump. So, Robert Davis, his vertical jump was 41 inches. In return, DK Metcalf's vertical jump was 40.5 inches. The broad jump for Robert Davis was 136 inches. I think it counts to be like 11 foot 4 inches. And then in return, DK Metcalf's was 134 inches. So that's like 11 foot 2 inches. Both explosive football players. Robert Davis just a little more explosive when it comes to elevating. So this kid has very, very unique measurables when it comes to athleticism. One last thing I'm going to throw in there, and I'm not too sure how relevant this is for a wide receiver, other than just to prove that they're strong. Both of these guys kind of threw up the personal best for wide receiver groupings during the combine for bench pressing, but there's a remarkable difference here. Robert Davis is strong. He threw up 19 at 225. DK Metcalf threw up 27 reps on the bench press. DK Metcalf is a physical freak when it comes to strength. Both these guys are very strong receivers. Both these guys can really elevate, and both of them are very fast. I want to get into Robert Davis and how the little bit of game film that I've seen, I've had the opportunity to see from Robert Davis, how I think this is going to translate on the football field for the Eagles. So the first thing I kind of want to show you guys is this element of the vertical stretch. I mean, this kid can get deep from the slot or from that X positioning. He can get deep. He's going to stretch the field vertically.
Haskins fires downfield on 3rd down. It's caught.
Guys, what is remarkable about that catch and the speed that kid showed you on that play? Remember, it wasn't that long ago that this kid was returning from tearing all 3 ligaments in his knee, his ACL, his MCL, and his LCL. All 3 ligaments in his knee were torn. On top of that, he fractured his right tibia. Guys, he literally broke his shin bone and tore all 3 ligaments in his knee. And the kid came back. They thought his career was done. The kid came back, and he still is lightning fast like that. It's ridiculous, the athleticism of this kid. This kid is an athletic freak, no doubt about it. And I want to show you guys another route, because that was him in the slot. So I'm going to show you guys him in the X receiver. What I do want to remind people is there's a common misconception. People think the X receiver is generally on the left-hand side. Normally it is, but that's not really what defines the X receiver. The X receiver is actually on the short side of the field, and your flank or your wide receiver, generally speaking, is on the far side of the field. So your wide receiver has the most field to work with. Your X receiver has the shortest distance between the numbers in the sideline. That's how you determine X from Y. A lot of times people just kind of go with when they refer to X, they mean left. No, I mean it by its actual traditional sense of what it is. He's going to be on the right-hand side of the formation this time. Check this out. And by the way, the person he's beating on this play is Greedy Williams, who blew a coverage and got burnt by blowing the coverage.
Keenum with time. Wide open receiver. It is.
It does bother me that I think we added this kid back in October, I want to say. And we got a kid that has this kind of athleticism and this kind of speed, this kind of ability to stretch the field. And after Deshaun Jackson was placed on injured reserve, I get maybe rolling out that first game against New England. Hey, I even get maybe taking your chances against Seattle. But come on, man. At a certain point, why did it take us so long to figure out we need a guy who can come in with the exact skill set that this kid has and give us this type of complement to the offense, which is the threat and the ability that if you blow a coverage, you're going to get one thrown over your head and it's going to be a touchdown. I don't understand why it's taken us so long. I mean, the kid does a lot of things. Like, I'll admit, there are some glitches to his game that I'll get into in a second. But this kid puts a lot of pressure on defenses. He draws contact. He draws flags. I mean, this kid is fast. He's physical. He's big. Like, even if you just look at him standing on the offensive line, he looks physically imposing. He's a tall, big receiver. And I'm going to show you one where he drew a flag. Once again, I believe he was in the slot again. He's running that same exact, basically running right down the hash mark. He's basically running a seam route, and he draws a flag.
Good on that play. Keenum looking for the deep shot. Has his man who's short.
I forgot how weak Case Keenum's arm is. Although he's a very brazen and bold guy who will sling the ball around there. Dude, if he just throws that ball and lays out there a little further, that's a touchdown because I'm telling you right now, Robert Davis is going to separate from that corner. He was going to run it into the end zone. Like, he underthrew that. With that said, we see what this kid does. He stretches the field on fades, right? On go routes, on seam routes, on deep digs and deep drag routes. He is going to bring speed to this offense. I'm telling you, the minute we throw this kid in the lineup, one of the major issues with the Philadelphia Eagles is resolved, and it doesn't take that long to learn how to run these type of routes. Now, there's going to be more nuanced timing routes that he's probably going to be benched on those until he can build repetition and get a little better at them. However, this kid adds an element to the offense that we have been desperately needing. This kid's going to make this offense a lot better. I want you to think about the fact that we could run out, Ertz or Goddard, along with a guy like Robert Davis who can stretch the field vertically. And then you can have guys like, either Jordan Howard later on in the season when he finally gets back from the shoulder injury. And I hope he's back by Dallas. But now you got a guy that can actually physically rummage and hit and hurt people. Or you got guys like Miles Sanders, who's like a juke stick. Or you get other guys in there. Boston Scott. We have speed with Scott, with Sanders, with Robert Davis. Now this offense isn't that slow. Greg Ward Jr., who's pretty good at route running. Greg Ward Jr. knows where to be on the football field. Joshua Perkins, who's out there playing for his NFL career, he's out there hustling. I mean, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's got a lot more to learn when it comes to getting himself more, established within the route tree. He's a little rough on his route running still. He's definitely regressed, and I think that's largely due to the lack of coaching he's had this year. We need a much better wide receiver coach, position coach for the upcoming year. But I will tell you this. Where Robert Davis kind of struggles with things like in routes, so slants, ins, comebacks, things like that, hitch routes, hooks. He's not good at those type of things. I don't know how he would be on like an out route. We'd have to see. I mean, I'm assuming because of how agile this kid is and how fast he is, he's probably going to be pretty good at that out route, but I don't know. That's a very much a timing route with the quarterback, so that might take a little time to develop. But that's where J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, I think, can have a role in this offense. Number one, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside can elevate and go catch the football. Number two, I do trust J.J. Arcega-Whiteside more on like things like hooks, like a hook route, a comeback route, slant route, those type of things. I trust J.J. Arcega-Whiteside more on those. But Robert Davis is going to add something to this offense. This is going to be very, very pleasant to watch, I promise you. There's going to be an element of explosion again. This is what this kid is going to bring. Now, I will show you a little bit of film to where I'm a little critical at how well he kind of plays on those slants and those, like, I think he needs more development there. And I'll give you an example of that on film real quick.
Keenum throwing to no one.
So on the offensive right of that side, it's the X, still the X receiver slot, but it's on the right. It's on the short side of the field. What you see there is, number one, he doesn't do a really great job of fighting with his hands to get the separation. And if you can't win with your hands, then you kind of have to, you can't sell the route so obviously. Like, the route can't be so obvious that basically the defensive back stays on your inside hip, because you want him on your outside hip so that way you can get that separation on the slant and get open. The way he ran that route, just basically, I think that was Greedy Williams. I can't tell who the corner was. I wasn't really looking that closely, guys, but it looks like it might be Greedy Williams there. Like, he does nothing to get him on the outside hip. He keeps him directly on his inside hip, and that's where you don't want the corner to be on a slant route. So he's got some growth and development on those inside breaking routes, on those comeback routes, like the hook routes, things like that. Like, he's got some more development to do there. But this kid has got elite speed, guys, and I'm telling you, he's going to make our offense look really, really good. Now, here's what I want you to do. I've given you this breakdown. I've spent multiple hours here researching this for you. Just do me a few favors if you haven't done it already. You already know what I'm going to ask you to do. Like, comment, tell me what you think about this gentleman. What do you think about Robert Davis? What do you think he's going to bring to the offense? And then third, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, guys, because I do this kind of stuff on a weekly basis. I put out material almost every day. My goal is to put it out every single day, but sometimes I might miss a day or two here and there. But I do these breakdowns at least on a weekly basis. And every day I generally try to give you some kind of content. So, I'm telling you, you're going to like the channel. Just trust me on this. All right, y'all. You know what time it is. EAGLES. Hey, I think we got a little something going on here that, I'm going to make another video after we see this kid play where we're going to discuss a much deeper issue with the wide receiving core, because I think there's some pretty tough decisions coming up. And I think that involves a separate video on its own. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here.